Hey everybody, welcome again to Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our next guest, the producer of the film Let 'Em Play, Mr. Scott Marshutz, joins us. Scott, how you doing?
Doing great, Bob. How you doing?
Well, I'm ecstatic, first of all. I think the film is phenomenal. Great job on that. What led you to, it wasn't that long ago where CIF made it possible for challenged athletes to participate on their high school teams. What was your connection to that, and why did you decide to showcase four athletes who were going to be participating in CIF championships?
Well, the whole idea behind the film came about after I was invited to attend the Angel City Games in 2016. I'm like 4 years to the day, I think. And I'd been a freelance writer for newspapers and magazines for a long time, and I was looking for a story, and I got pitched by their PR company, and, it was like a really interesting pitch. And so I went out there and I started looking around, and right away I knew it was more than one story, more than a one-off. And I'd been looking to produce a documentary film for a long time. And I thought, after I'd done some more research and I talked to the folks at Angel City, they turned me on to the rule change at CIF that enabled, disabled high school athletes to be able to compete and earn points for their teams and stuff like that. And then I got a hold of some footage from Spectrum Sportsnet that they had shot in 2016. And I thought it was really, really interesting. I didn't know anything about the, para-athletic universe, but I had been involved in athletics all my life. And I just thought it was a really underserved universe from what I could see.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me started.
So picking athletes, that's always a toughie because you never know where the journey is going to take them. And the idea was to follow them through CIF and then see where it led, if it potentially led to national teams or Paralympics.
Exactly.
And so your four athletes, how did you end up choosing those four?
Well, obviously when you're setting up a budget for a documentary, you've got to figure out how you can get to those athletes as quickly as possible, and so I kind of created a radius, in all directions on how far I could go out and who I could get in. And so I had a pretty sort of wide universe in the beginning. There was 6 or 8 that I was looking at, and, I contacted them and because they were all minors at the time, I had to talk to their parents and figure out if they were going to be on board, if they wanted to do it, if they were going to be transparent in the process. And so we narrowed it down to 4 that I was within striking distance. So our crew could get to San Diego, we could get to LA, we could get to these places without having to get on a plane and spend a fortune to get this thing done. And at the same time, it was like, it's a total gamble. You have no idea where these athletes are going to go or what's going to happen. And so along the way, a couple dropped out, a couple came back in. And so once we got that 4, we started tracking them from there.
So what I like is the variety of the athletes, because you've got Kurt is your thrower, and you've got Taylor and Michelle are both runners, and then Michael's a wheeler.
Right.
So one of the stories that I really enjoyed Michael's story, because obviously he was on the track, but it bothered him a little bit. Hey, I'm part of the track team, but I'm by myself. I'm out here on the track and I'm by myself. And I thought you did a great job of capturing that. Did you sense that with the athletes? It's great to be part of the high school program. We think it's awesome, but I wish it was more athletes that I can compete with.
Exactly. And I think that, unfortunately, I think Michael really wanted to advance in, wheelchair racing, wheelchair track racing. And, he had a problem getting a classification appointment.
Yeah.
And that kind of deflated him a little bit. I think that if he had been able to get that classification appointment and get classed at Desert Challenge, I think he would have had a harder time deciding about just going back to playing wheelchair basketball. I think he really wanted to advance in that track racing. And so he went, he just continued throughout, the high school. But to answer your question more directly,
Yeah.
absolutely, I think he wanted to see more competition on those tracks.
So he had a coach, this Coach D,
Right.
the high school coach. And what was so special about him is he's visually impaired, and
Absolutely.
he got it. Did you see with other coaches that maybe they didn't quite understand what they were dealing with the challenged athletes?
It's a great question. Only one out of the four, I think, of the coaches that was working with the para athlete did not have any experience. But I don't think that, all the coaches that I've talked to throughout the last 4 or 5 years, their main point to me was, hey, we don't try to coach them any differently. Yeah, you have to be careful in some areas, to make sure they're not going to get re-injured and stuff like that. But, they don't want to say, okay, well, we train all these able-bodied athletes one way, and then we train the para athletes another way. I don't think that's kind of their mindset. It's more like they want them to do as much as they can with that athlete in the situation they have.
With Kurt, one of the things that I've seen a lot of, when you're talking about Michelle or you're talking about Teylor or Michael, you can see what they're dealing with. You can see the way with brachial plexy or wheelchair athlete. With Kurt, he's a big guy and he's dealing with things with cerebral palsy, but you don't necessarily see it, right?
Right.
Is that something that maybe people look at him and go, well, wait a second, where's the challenge? I don't see it.
Right. And, it's a good point. And we talked about that. And I asked him flat out, I said, when you were out at Desert Challenge competing or at these other competitions, did you feel as though, you didn't fit in here? And he said, sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I mean, he certainly has CP that is a disability. And, there were a lot of other F-38s out there, competing with him. So it's just the degree of severity, I guess.
What's from looking at the film now? What was there a favorite part for you? Was there something that meant more to you in the film than other things?
Well, overall, it was a great experience with every athlete. Their support group, their parents, their coaches, everybody involved. When I pitched them on this project, they were very positive. They were very, oh yeah, definitely you can come out and film. We'll talk to you. There's no problem. There was never any pushback or never any reservation about this. And I was very thankful that I didn't have to, beg, borrow, and steal and bang on doors to get through to get to where I wanted to go. So, the whole thing from start to finish was a very enjoyable experience.
From being involved with this for the last number of years, have you seen more awareness for adaptive sport at the high school level?
Well, I've been in touch with CIF, all through this process, and each year after they adopted the rules in 2015, there's been an uptick in the number of para athletes that are competing. So the word is getting out there. There's 4,000 high schools in the state of California. And it's just been a kind of a slow go getting that word, through to all those high schools. And, I think, but now, we're going, like 4 years after the adoption, I think their lanes are getting filled up a lot more than they were.
Love it. And Brian Seymour over at CIF has been a big champion. Was he helpful with the film?
Absolutely. Brian was one of my first guys that I reached out to. And before Bob Blake, retired, or excuse me, Roger Blake retired, I was in touch with both of them quite a bit. And, they were, they were very willing to work with me very early on because they knew how important this initiative was. Especially after all the time they spent, talking with U.S. Paralympics, trying to get this thing, launched.
So we have Teylor is actually joining us. Teylor Becher-Synowiec joins us. Teylor, are you there?
I just got a text.
Hi.
Hey, it's great to reconnect. Remember, we did a little photo shoot with you a number of years ago at Angel City Games.
I do remember. Hi.
I am wonderful. And so you also, Patrick Lawrence from CAF, I think, did some work with you.
Yeah. We did a lot together. We did beach volleyball for a while and other stuff like that.
So how did you, as somebody born with brachiopexy, how did you decide which sport was best for you? Because like you said, you played some volleyball, you did track, and you did some long jump. When did you decide which sport you wanted to focus on?
It was like I knew what made me the happiest, I guess, and what worked better for me, because beach volleyball was amazing, but it was really, really hard on the upper half because my brachial plexus injury doesn't just affect my arm. It affects a lot of like my back and like my chest and stuff like that too. So beach volleyball kind of hurt to play.
Yeah.
But track and field was kind of worth that hurt for me because I fell in love not just with the sport, but with the people around me and the practices and the community that was there.
So you went from running in high school, and talk a little bit about that, going to CIF and being part of that, because you guys are sort of pioneers. You were some of the first groups to run in CIF track in the state track meet.
Right. So that track and field meet was actually really cool, but it was scary because I didn't even understand the events that I was running in, because I'd only been doing the sprinting events, the 100, 200, and 400, for like 2 or 3 weeks before state championships. I was a long distance runner. I was a mile, 2 mile, half mile athlete all of that time up until then. So, and then after that, it just kind of took off really, really quickly. And
During your high school career, did you start seeing more challenged athletes participating in track and field because of the fact that there was a CIF championship?
Honestly, I don't know, because before CIF, I didn't even know what Paralympics were. So I don't know if there was like an influx in athletes joining because of that, or if I just was meeting new people because of the Paralympics. Like, I had no idea. I didn't even know any other disabled people that weren't me until this. So
Wow.
I had no idea.
So Scott, what was it about Teylor that led you to include her in this film?
So I told you about the footage that we were looking at from Spectrum Sports Net,
Yeah.
that was shot during that first championship in 2016, and they ran the 100-meter, and there's a clip of where Michelle and Teylor come out, and Amy Watt's leading the pack by quite a bit, but Teylor and Michelle are running neck and neck. I mean, they're just really dead even through that whole race. And I thought, that's kind of interesting. You know, I wonder what's going on with those two. So I reached out to both of them and ended up connecting with them at the U.S. Paralympics track and field held a training clinic at Cerritos College about like February of the following year. And that's where I met them both. And they were just, they were just great to work with, and their parents were great to work with. And they were really excited about being involved, and they realized the importance of getting this message out about how this, para-athletic universe is really underserved. And, but they were, they showed a lot of potential. And I thought, wow, if one of them could make maybe one of the national teams, that would be great, and it would be great for the documentary.
So Teylor, what do you look at as your best race ever?
Like statistics wise, or just like my favorite?
Your favorite. So I mean, a race where you finished and felt so good about the effort.
Definitely when I was in Ireland, that was definitely my favorite. Not just because of like the Ireland part, but the support system I had there and the effort that the coaches put into it and stuff like that. And most of my college meets, I felt like that too because of my coaching system.
And during the film, you had walked away from track, right? Because you full-time job, going to
Yeah.
college, all just way too much.
Yeah.
Where are you at now? Are you still running? Are you thinking of 2021 for Paralympics, or is that in the past for you?
Yeah, so I'm actually in about 2 weeks from now moving back down to San Diego to start working with Akil and the San Diego Adaptive Athletics again and all that kind of stuff. I just needed a little break.
Right. Well, we all do. That's sometimes
Right.
you just need that. You've been running full on and trying to figure out, am I a
Definitely.
jumper? Am I a runner? I'm going to school. I'm working full time.
Right. Well, I left home 2 weeks after my 18th birthday and lived out in 2 hours from everybody I know by myself. And I worked full time. I went to school full time. I did track and field practices and then tried to maintain some sort of healthy social life like any 18, 19-year-old should. But it was just way, way too hard. And, I couldn't find the right balance that was for me. So I was lacking in things that were important, like sleep or food or, interacting with my family. So I came back here, home for a little while just to kind of, get myself together again.
I love it. Hey, so Scott, what is the goal for the film? When will it be available?
Okay, well, the strategy right now is we're going to try to premiere it on Sunday. It'll be an online premiere. I've got an email list of about 100 people on that. And so we're going to, if everything goes according to schedule, the next few days, we're going to send it out via Eventbrite. And you'll have a link and a password, and you'll be able to watch it, at your leisure. The original plan, obviously, when things were normal, was that I was going to rent a really nice Art Deco theater in Long Beach and host a bunch of people and do it that way. But, everything's changed now. So we're just going to do it online. But, I think that, people have the time and they're looking for new content. And this is something completely different. And there's an amazing amount of athletes, as you know, because I sent you the cut. And so, my whole kind of emphasis here is, if you see an athlete in this film you want to reach out to, send them the link,
Yes.
Share it, get it out there, because we're looking for distributors right now.
I love it. The film is called Let 'Em Play, and hopefully when the world turns around, we'll be able to show that over at our Challenge Athletes Foundation building. That would be wonderful. We'd love to do that.
Anytime.
Love it. Hey,
That would
Scott.
be so cool.
Taylor, thank you so much to both you and Scott. And the film is phenomenal. You guys did a great job with it. Thank you both for being on Challenge Athletes Live.
Thank
Appreciate you
you.
having us.
All right. Again, now Scott and Taylor, and the film is called Let 'Em Play.
Right.
It's launching soon. And Scott, where can people go to check it out, to find out more information?
You go to my website. It's Marshutz Productions, MARSHOOTZ Productions.com. There's a trailer playing there, and there's a whole bunch of information about the film. And or they can go to my professional Facebook page at Marshutz Productions, or at Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you both for being on Challenge Athletes Live.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.